Hello everyone, welcome to the 2018 year update and Q&A video. 2017 was another amazing year for the channel, passing 200,000 subscribers just a few weeks ago and over 100 million new video views in the last year alone. We have a lot of questions to answer and several updates to go over, so let's get started. The first thing I'd like to mention is the new Community tab located on the channel page. This is something that YouTube just rolled out a month or two ago for creators to connect more with fans. The tab will be used for various updates, photos, polls, and more. I'm also planning on posting the video upload schedule here as well. Next, let's briefly talk about some of the videos you can expect to see on the channel this year. The other week, I released a preview for the full-length Amtrak Coast Starlight video I promised I would make last year. The video comes out on February 2nd, and I think it will be well worth the wait. By popular demand, the series Train Talk will be back this year for more episodes on the first Friday of the month. Because of the Coast Starlight video coming out next month, Train Talk won't be back until March. I'm not 100% sure yet what the first new episode will feature, but it will most likely be a video about different types of locomotives. There should also be some episodes on some very highly requested topics coming out later this year, so keep an eye out for those. The Galore series will be back again this year with the first surprise episode coming out at the end of March. I'm also planning on another Toy Trains Galore sometime this summer and Steam Trains Galore 6 at the end of November. Speaking of toy train videos, I've had many requests for another Thomas Wooden Railway type toy train video. I am currently working on the next one and it should be out in mid-February. The 10-year anniversary of the channel is coming up in September and I'm planning on making some special videos for that as well. No details just yet, but check back on the community tab as we get closer to September for updates. In 2016, the channel surpassed 100,000 subscribers, and in recognition of this, YouTube sent me what they call their Silver Play Button Award in early 2017. I posted about it when it arrived on the Facebook page, but I just wanted to show it here briefly for those of you who wanted to see it but missed the post on Facebook. Thanks again, everyone. Last year, I posted a poll question in one of the videos asking if I should set up an Instagram account. From the results, it seemed like a number of you thought I should do this, but as of yet, I have not done so. Would you like to see a CF2105 Instagram account, or are there any other social media sites that you think I should join? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Finally, let's talk a little bit about where I will be going for new videos this year. In 2017, I made two major trips. One was to the Northeast, and the other was to the Pacific Northwest. I was hoping to cover a little bit of Western Canada during the Pacific Northwest trip, but unfortunately I ran out of time. Right now I don't have any firm plans for any trips, but I am looking at several different areas including the Southeast and the Midwest. Since a number of questions I was asked for the Q&A are about travel plans for this year, I will get into a little more detail with those. If you have any requests for me this year, please share them in the comments section. With that said, let's begin the Q&A. I asked for your questions on the Community tab, Year in Review video, and Facebook page, and combined, I received about 200 responses. So, let's get right into it. What was your best catch? What is your favorite railroad? And what is your favorite locomotive? My best catch ever was probably that shot of Santa Fe Steam Locomotive 3751 meeting Coaster Locomotive 2105 in San Diego, although there are many runners-up. My favorite railroad currently existing is Coaster, followed by Amtrak, and my favorite steam locomotive is Southern Pacific 4449. Have you ever considered doing videos of the inside of locomotives? Do you mean a video inside the cab or inside the engine compartment? I've thought about doing cab ride videos before, and there is a short cab ride segment in my Western Maryland 734 video. Both sound like good ideas to me. What are some Amtrak locos? Amtrak's main diesel-electric locomotives are the P40 and P42 DC Genesis series, P32-BWH-8, F59 PHI, and P32 ACDM dual mode. Amtrak's only electric locomotives other than the Acela Express power cars are the ACS-64s built by Siemens. What places are on your list to video trains next year? Are any of them in the East? As of right now, I don't have any super firm plans. I'm currently looking at another trip to the Pacific Northwest and a trip following the Transcontinental Railroad from California to Nebraska and maybe further. I'm also working on a trip to the Southeast. I hope to return to the Northeast in 2019. Will you continue the Train Talk series? I really enjoy those videos. Yes, Train Talk will continue as often as I can put out a new episode. Expect a similar schedule to what I did last year. Are you planning on making a new series anytime soon? Yes, I have a few different ideas for a series I'm looking into, but nothing to officially announce yet. One idea I'm looking at is a series on tourist railroads, and another is on abandoned railroads. What are your favorite railfanning locations in both the East and the West? My favorite location in the East that I've been to so far is probably the east bank of the Hudson River with all the Metro-North and Amtrak trains. In the Midwest, I like Rondout Tower, and on the West Coast, I like the BNSF Scenic and Bellingham subdivisions between Seattle and Bellingham, Washington. The soonest trip I have planned out east would potentially be this fall to the southeast. Will you do some videos of the Pacific Surfliner in San Diego at the Santa Fe Depot? Also, can you do videos of the Metrolink at the Oceanside Transit Center, Coaster in San Diego, and Sprinter at the Oceanside Transit Center? Also film the Capital Limited at Rockville, Maryland. Also, have you rode business class on the Pacific Surfliner? I have a video from a couple years ago from the San Diego Santa Fe Depot. If you want to see that, click on the link at the top right corner of the screen. I have a Metrolink video that I released a couple months ago for their 25th anniversary that have some scenes of Metrolink in Oceanside, but none of them were at the station. The next coaster video should be out at the end of February, and I'm not sure when I will do another Sprinter video, but the last one came out a few years ago. I will look into catching the Capital Limited in Rockville next time I am in Maryland, and I have been in Pacific Surfliner business class, but not in several years. Have you rode every single Amtrak route in the US or not? If not, have you found or rode on every commuter train in the US? I haven't ridden on every Amtrak or every commuter train in the US. I have seen most of them though. If you could drive a train through any route in the world, where would you go? Probably over the old Southern Pacific Shasta route in Cascade Subdivision between Sacramento, California and Eugene, Oregon. How did you get so popular? I think it mostly started with the very first Steam Trains Galore video along with my 4014 Big Boy video, and it just sort of grew from there. What is your method of scouting these great locations? And what camera do you use? I typically look on photo sharing sites or YouTube videos. I also use Google Maps to pick out spots that I think would look good. I currently use Canon XA10 and XA25 cameras. When are you going to do a face reveal? I am planning on doing that for one of the upcoming subscriber milestones, possibly for 500K. What was your first train that you ever filmed? And are you going to film trains in the Southeast? First train I ever filmed was a trolley in downtown San Diego at the Santa Fe Depot on December 27th, 2002. If you don't count trolleys, it was Pacific Surfliner train 583, pulled by F59 number 453 that same day. And yes, I am planning on doing a Southeast Trains video following my trip to the Southeast, be that later this year or early next. When are you going to make a feature video of the Santa Fe Transcon from Chicago to Los Angeles? And how about making a video of the San Diego Comic-Con from the Pacific Surfliner where you can record from the inside and outside of the train, and a small tour of the San Diego Comic-Con? Well, I may do a Southwest Chief video at some point, which would cover most of that line. That largely depends on how well the upcoming Coast Starlight video is received. I may also film along sections of the line for other videos. The Comic-Con video is a possibility, but it probably will not be this summer, as there is a good chance I won't be in San Diego when Comic-Con happens this year. How do you feel about 200K subs and any chance of a Commuter Rail Galore 2? 200,000 subscribers is really cool. It's unbelievable to see how fast the channel grew in just a year. Commuter Trains Galore is a possibility, but probably not for a little while. Can you come here to sunny South Florida to Railfan? Yes, that will most definitely be part of my Southeast trip when that happens. Which Amtrak passenger trains have you seen and haven't seen? I've seen pretty much every Amtrak train now except for some of the long-distance trains in the eastern half of the country like the Crescent, the Auto Train, and the City of New Orleans. I think I've seen all the others. What is your favorite steam locomotive? Do you like Line L trains? Do you plan to see the Berkshires 1225 and 765? Will you ever visit the Strasburg Railroad? And which is better, 1225 or 765? My favorite steam locomotive is Southern Pacific 4449. I do like Line L trains, and yes, I am planning on seeing both 765 and 1225. I went to the Strasburg Railroad last year as part of my big East Coast trip. That will first be featured in Steam Trains Galore 6 coming out later this year, and then in a separate video in 2019. I prefer 1225 over 765, but I like both of those locomotives. Have you railfanned yet in southern Los Angeles? Kind of. I filmed the San Pedro Red Car Trolley when it was still running. In the East Coast Trains video, you did not include trains in the Southeast. When will you film trains in the Southeast? I plan on doing a separate video for Southeast trains when I go on my trip to the Southeast, either in late 2018 or sometime in 2019. What do you think of the impact Hunter Harrison had during his time at CSX? Well, I think he succeeded in his goal of cutting costs. What are your top 3 favorite Amtrak locomotives? And are you planning on doing a Train Talk episode on the General Electric Genesis locomotives, like the P40 and P42? Side note, how much longer do you think the F-59s have on both commuter railroads and intercity Amtrak trains? My favorite Amtrak locomotive is the F40PH, followed by the AEM7, followed by the P32-8. I will be doing a Train Talk episode on the P40 and P42 possibly this spring. My guess is most of the Metrolink F-59s will be gone by the end of this year, most of the Surfliners by early next year, and on coasters sometime in 2020. Any chance you could do a foreign power compilation, and have you ever gone to Lakeland, Florida to Railfan? I could do that eventually, just depends on what video clips I have to work with. I've never been to Florida, so I haven't been to Lakeland yet, but I will try to visit when I go. Ever going to do meetups in the East, Midwest, and West? Yeah, I'd like to do that at some point. I know I've had a lot of requests to do meetups. Do you have any suggestions for that? What's your favorite era of railroading? 50s, 60s, 70s, modern, etc. Probably the late 1940s, early 1950s. Do you plan on making any videos about tips on how to railfan or photograph trains? I hadn't planned on doing that, but I could if people are interested in that. I'll put that as a poll question. Would you like to see me do a video or a video series on tips about filming trains? Just click in the upper right-hand corner to vote. Say hi to my son, Elias Reyes. Hi, Elias. Does Delaware have a commuter rail service? Not that I am aware of. What is your all-time favorite Amtrak route? The Coast Starlight. What is your favorite place to railfan? Locally would probably be the Del Mar Cliffs. How many heritage units have you seen? I've seen all the Amtrak units, 3 of the Union Pacific ones, and 2 of the Norfolk Southern ones. Do you record all of the train videos? Pretty much everything you see on the channel was filmed by me. There are just a couple of exceptions, and those are all noted in those individual videos. Could you please upload a longer video of uncut videos? They are surprisingly really good for falling asleep to. Yeah, I can try putting something like that together. Actual model trains instead of wooden ones? I'm working on an N-scale model trains video. Look for that possibly sometime this spring. What factors of your life have influenced your personal passion for trains? Probably just going out to watch trains locally as a kid. I think that grew my interest quite a bit. What is your favorite train unit and why? The EMD F40PH, because that's what I grew up with on the local passenger trains as a kid. What got you into trains? Probably a videotape of the Southern Pacific Daylight my grandmother got me when I was a young kid. Did you ever railfan at Chatsworth train station? I have filmed at the station, but not in many years. Do you plan on coming back to Massachusetts soon, and could you do a railroad crossing train talk? I am planning on coming back to Massachusetts, but I'm not sure when that will be. I would like to do a train talk episode on grade crossings. Will you do a train talk about steam whistles? Yes, I'm hoping to do that one this year. Who is your least favorite hero? I'll have to think about that one. Will you ever talk about the F40 PHM-2 that Metro uses? I may mention them in a video at some point, but I don't have anything planned currently. If you were to visit foreign countries for railfanning, which one would you go to first? Probably Canada, just because of how close it is. Do you think you'll ever make a video with trains from other countries? I think I will at some point, but I'm not sure when that will be. Have you ever thought of going to Georgia to catch Norfolk Southern trains? Yes, I will be going to Georgia as part of my trip to the southeast. Which do you like better, diesel or steam? Also, what is your favorite mainline steam? Steam and Southern Pacific 4449. Can you do a face reveal and show your face? Possibly for one of the upcoming subscriber milestones. Are you still filming Ace train videos? Whenever I'm in the Bay Area, I will try to film Ace. Have you ever been to Ohio to see trains? I have been to Ohio, but I still haven't filmed any trains there. Hopefully soon. Do you know Stobe the Hobo? I do not. What is your favorite steam train? Locomotive-wise, SP4449. If you're talking about tourist railroads, then the Cumbres and Toltec Scenic Railroad. Maybe do a video on some old heritage lines or something that run on heritage stuff in America. That sounds like an interesting idea. Do you like the railways of Cortunia? I'm not sure what that is, actually. What is your best advice that you can give for fellow railfanners about how to get the best shot possible of passing trains? Look for nice locations with full sunlight on the side of the train that you're looking at. Use a tripod and make sure you framed up the shot nicely before the train passes. Steam train, diesel train, or electric train? Steam. Do you travel by train or by car? When I want to relax, by train. When I'm going on a filming trip, typically by car. What steam locomotive wheel arrangement is your favorite? And are railway parks your favorite place to catch trains, or some other place like countryside, city, etc.? My favorite wheel arrangement is probably a 484, and my favorite spot to see trains are usually scenic places in the countryside. What is your favorite diesel locomotive, and what is your favorite Leslie horn? Favorite diesel is the F40PH, and favorite Leslie horns the RS5T. Have you ever been on the California Zephyr? I have not, but I have filmed it many times. Can you do an episode on trains in North Carolina? Yes, in fact I have a video on North Carolina Amtrak trains that will be out later this year. I was curious about the status of Chicago Northwestern 1385. Any updates? Nothing new that I know of. Will you ever take a trip down to Strasburg? Yes, I've been to Strasburg, and as I mentioned before, the video will be coming out as part of Steam Trains Galore 6 in November, and then a separate video sometime next year. What is your opinion on Australian railways? They seem pretty neat to me. I've always thought of them kind of as a cross between American and British railways. What is the largest number of locomotives you have seen on a passenger train, including cab cars and cabbages? Also, can you do a train talk on how a subway system is different from a mainline train? I don't remember off the top of my head. I know I've seen at least 4 on one train, and yes, I would like to do a train talk on subways and trolleys eventually. Could you ever do a video about just North Carolina trains? Yeah, I have at least one on North Carolina Amtrak trains coming out later this year, and next time I go to North Carolina, I'm going to work on putting a longer North Carolina trains video together. Which Amtrak P42s, in your opinion, have the best and worst K5LAs? What is wrong with NS 6920's RS5T? What locomotive type and number do you think should replace Amtrak Phase 2 Heritage Unit 66? And there are 7 F40 PHR sitting on Amtrak property in Delaware. Do you think they should be put back into service to help with the very tight P42 roster? Not sure about all of the best, but some of the nicer ones that I have heard recently are 35, 135, 139, 182, 189, and 200. In terms of bad ones, I think 42 is sounding pretty bad these days, as is 5 and 204. I think the horn on NS6920 has always sounded pretty bad, and so my only guess is that most of the newer Leslie horns just don't sound very good. For replacement for 66, I wouldn't mind seeing one of the Amtrak F40s they have stored. And for your other question, I think it would be cool if that happened, but I don't think it's very likely. With the new SC44 Charger locomotives relieving some of the P42s in state-supported services, I'm not sure they're going to be needed either. For this year, will you visit other countries like the UK? Probably not this year, but it is always a possibility. Will you ever do the Reading and Northern or Delaware Lackawanna regional railroads for train talk? What's your favorite EMD and GE diesel locomotives? And what's your favorite steam locomotive? And what is your favorite freight railroad of all time? Yes, it's possible I will do that for an episode of Train Talk, but right now I'm focusing on more general topics, so it probably won't be for a while. My favorite EMD diesel is the F40PH, and my favorite GE is probably the U25. Favorite freight railroad of all time is a tie between Southern Pacific and Santa Fe. Could you possibly try to visit any of these following 10 railroad locations for 2018 or later on in your railfanning career? I've been to a few of the ones on that list, some of which are featured in videos on the channel. I'm sure I'll get to most, if not all, the rest of them at some point, and when I do, I'll try to post videos. What camera or camcorder do you use, and which one do you recommend? I use Canon XA10 and XA25 cameras, and I'd recommend anything made by Canon, particularly in the Vixia series. What's your favorite spot to film along the Surfline? I have a number of spots that I like along the Del Mar Cliffs. Out of all of Amtrak's long-distance trains, which one is your favorite? The Coast Starlight. What is your favorite EMD locomotive? That'd be the F40PH. What do you think of Dutch railways? I think they're interesting, but I don't know that much about them. Do you play any games like train simulators? I have played Train Simulator in the past, but probably my favorite railroad-themed game is Railroad Tycoon. Do you own some railway stuff like horns or crossing bells? Yeah, I own a few horns, whistles, railroad lanterns, and a few other odds and ends. What is your favorite railroad? Favorite past railroad is a tie between Southern Pacific and Santa Fe. Present day, it's Coaster followed by Amtrak. What is your favorite Amtrak company, like Cascade, Superliner, Super Chief, Camcorder, etc.? My favorite Amtrak train is the Coast Starlight, and my favorite Amtrak state-sponsored train is Amtrak Cascades. What is the best catch you see that a locomotive never leads before, but it leads, like Amtrak Dash 8, etc.? The best catch of a rare locomotive would probably be one of the times I've seen an Amtrak Dash 8 leading a train. What is your favorite railroad museum? My favorite railroad museum in terms of how everything is presented is the California State Railroad Museum. If you're talking about overall collection, it would be the Illinois Railroad Museum. What was the greatest catch of 2017? I'd say probably 611 pulling excursions out of Roanoke. What is your home train station? San Diego Santa Fe Depot. Are you planning on railfanning the Smart in Sonoma soon? And how does it feel to have 200,000 plus subscribers? Yeah, I'd like to catch Smart soon, possibly sometime this year. It's amazing to have 200,000 subscribers. What is your favorite freight engine locomotive? My favorite current freight locomotive is the ET44C4 and ET44AC, and my favorite past freight locomotive would be the GP30. Will you upload a Wes commuter rail soon? Next time I'm in Portland, I will film more of Wes, and I will make a video about it that may end up being this spring. What is the first song in the 2017 Year of Trains in Review? If you're doing a Toy Train Galore 4, can you add the Class 66? Have you ever caught films of the 90 at Strasburg? And what is your most favorite whistle? The song in the video is Auld Lang Syne. I am doing a Toy Trains Galore 4, but I'm not sure what will be in it. I'm sure that one will be in a video eventually. And I have not caught Strasburg 90 yet. My favorite whistle is a tie between the Southern Pacific 6 chime and the Rio Grande 5 chime. If you could restore or rebuild from scratch any locomotive to operating condition, which would you choose? SP cab forward, Pennsylvania, GG1, or something totally different? Steam locomotive-wise, would have to be a New York Central Hudson, although I wouldn't mind seeing a cab forward or a GG1 electric locomotive running either. I'll also add the AEM7 in the electric category and the F40PH in the diesel category, although there's still technically examples of both of those running. What are the railroad locations you go to film the magnificent engines? A lot of tourist railroads if you're talking about steam locomotives, otherwise it's various scenic spots all over the country. Will you ever visit the southern East Coast for Florida trains? Yes, hopefully later this year. What is your most favorite NS heritage unit? The New York Central painted one, NS number 1066. CF2105, will you be talking about the Metrolink line and Railfanning the Electric Line 2? Next time I go to Chicago, I will be filming more Metrolink and putting a video of that together. Are you going to do a Train Talk episode about the SC44 Charger? Probably not any time in the near future. I made a short video about the Chargers last year, but since it's such a new locomotive, I probably won't be doing a longer video on that for at least a few years. What is your favorite steam engine locomotive? SP4449. What's your favorite locomotive of the Amtrak company? F40PH. How many places do you go a week to get trains for your videos? It depends on the week, sometimes none at all. When I'm on a trip, dozens of different places. How long have you been interested in trains? I've been interested in trains since I was just a year or two old. When you travel, do you always travel by train? I usually travel by car because it makes it easier for me to bring along my video gear, and it also makes it easier to get to some spots that are only really accessible by driving or walking a long way. Can you do an episode of Train Talk about Amtrak's Coast Starlight? The full video on the Coast Starlight will be out at the beginning of February, so be sure to stop by for that. How often do you railfan? Which place do you go to most of the time to railfan, and what's your favorite train? I usually do all of my filming on bigger trips. In between trips, it really varies. I still try to get out at least once a month, and when I'm not on a trip, I usually go somewhere nearby, locally, or sometimes as far away as Los Angeles or the desert. My favorite train is the San Diego Coaster. Are you going to do Thomas at the Railway Museum? I would like to. I still haven't done it yet, but maybe this year. Next big plans for the future? In terms of videos, the Coast Starlight video and the Thomas video, both in February. And in terms of trips, possibly the Pacific Northwest sometime this spring. Will CNO 2716 operate soon? Probably not for a few more years. Will you go to Western Maryland Scenic Railroad to record 1309? Yeah, once it's done. Will the East Broad Top operate in the near future? I have no idea. Can you do a video on Streamline steam locomotives? Possibly. Will you go to Wyoming to film 4014 when it's fully steamed up? Yes, I am planning on seeing 4014 when it's done next year. Are you coming to Durango this upcoming summer? I may be back in Durango this year, but if so, it probably won't be until the fall, but I hope you have a great trip. Have you ever filmed trains in Denver, North Platte, Nebraska's Bailey Yard, or have you ever caught Union Pacific 844 before? I have filmed trains at Bailey Yard in North Platte before, and I have also filmed 844. I have not filmed in Denver yet. What is your number one favorite place to railfan? Probably Del Mar. Have you thought about choreographing some cool music hits from the 70s depicting the names of states and cities across America with your quality train shots? You could use classical and country music. Yeah, I've done some classical music with trains before. I'll make a playlist of those so they're easier to find, but yeah, I'll be doing more of those videos in the future. What will you be doing in 2018? Are you going out of the country? Probably nothing out of the country, but I will let you know if that changes. Will you go back to the Illinois Railroad Museum? Yes, I'll eventually go back to the Illinois Railroad Museum. How did you learn about these locomotive types? And will you make a train talk episode about steam trains? A lot of learning over the years through books and videos mostly, and yes, there will be more train talk episodes on steam trains. Do you have any favorite Australian locomotives? I really like the R-Class steam locomotives and the S-Class diesels. Have you seen any UP Heritage units or NS Heritage units? I've seen 3 UP Heritage units and 2 NS units. Have you ever seen a Union Pacific gas turbine A unit? If so, was it on a holiday train or excursion? I've seen both surviving gas turbines. They are on display at the Illinois Railroad Museum and the Utah State Railroad Museum. Will you have plans to do a Railfanning video on the Union Pacific Valley Subdivision in Northern California? No plans, but it's certainly something I could do. When are you planning on coming to Australia? I would love to visit Australia. I've long been interested in the railroads there. I'm not sure when that's going to be, and I don't have any firm plans right now, but I'll be sure to post about it when I do. Can you do more train talks? I find train talks extremely interesting. Yes, I will be doing many more episodes of Train Talk. When do you next plan on visiting the Bay Area, specifically Martinez? Nothing firm, but I may be in the Bay Area this spring. Out of all the steam engines that are in the process of being restored right now, which one are you the most excited for? The Union Pacific 4014 Big Boy, followed by Santa Fe 2926, and then Chesapeake and Ohio 2716. Have you tried to film trains in Europe? I've not tried filming anything in Europe yet, but I probably will at some point down the line. Will you go to Fort Wayne in 2018? I'm sure I will eventually, but I don't have anything planned for 2018. Can you get a video of the trains in Truckee and Donner Summit? Yes, I have some video already from Donner Pass, but I will be getting more this year. Why does it appear that when steam locomotives are double-headed, or in rare cases triple-headed, the one directly coupled to the train appears to be working the hardest? Is the same thing true with diesels? And how often does the Grand Canyon Railway run their heavyweight coaches? I am not sure. I'd have to look into that. The Grand Canyon usually runs one heavyweight car on their regular trips to the Grand Canyon, and then an entire set of them for the Polar Express trains in December. Would you be willing to take a trip to Pennsylvania to get a video on the Wheeling and Lake Erie? Yeah, I've wanted to see that railroad for a long time. If you ever come back to Long Island, could you please contact me about when? I will try to give you and everyone else a heads up. Keep an eye on the community tab. Can you make a trip to Canada or Europe to film trains? Also, next time you come east, consider filming in Manassas, Virginia. Yeah, I will certainly try, and I will try to go to Manassas next time I'm in Virginia, too. What is your favorite train? The San Diego Coaster. What is your favorite Class 1 and Fallen Flag Railroad? My favorite Class 1 is probably Norfolk Southern. Fallen Flag is a tie between Southern Pacific and Santa Fe. Hi Mike, my son and I are fans of your videos. He loves the videos with the real model wooden trains. We were wondering how you make the trains move. The trains that are not battery powered are all indeed moved by hand. I positioned the camera so as to hide the fact that they are being moved. How many trains have you caught in 2017? Was there more freight or passenger trains? What do you do in your spare time? And would you ever go to Japan to see more trains? Over 1,000, I'm sure. I'm not sure exactly how many, but it was a lot. There were definitely more passenger trains. In my spare time, I like to go on walks. And yes, I would potentially go to Japan to see trains. Are you going to celebrate having over 200,000 subscribers? Yes, I celebrated with my 200,000 subscriber best clip video back in December, and if you want a link to that, just click in the top right corner of the screen. Do you travel all over the U.S. to film trains? Yeah, I've traveled all over the U.S. to film trains. I've currently filmed in about 35 out of 50 states. How about how steamers are fed and the smoke is different colors? Well, the white clouds are actually clouds of steam. You usually only see this when it's cooler out. The excess water vapor condenses into large steam clouds. When there's more soot, particularly when the locomotive's burning coal or the oil isn't being burned as efficiently, you'll see either gray or black smoke. When it is warm out, a well-fired, oil-burning locomotive will produce little or no traces of smoke. Are you available for interview for a video I'm working on called Superstars of YouTube anytime soon? Maybe. Can we expect any international trains in 2018? I don't have anything planned, but I will let you know if that changes. Thanks very much to all those who asked questions, as well as those of you thanking me for the videos. I think 2018 is going to be another great year for CF2105, and I'm excited to see what's in store for us up ahead. As always, thank you for watching the video. If you have any other questions or comments to share, please leave those in the comments section below. If you're not already, subscribe to the channel and be sure to select the Receive Notifications option by clicking on the bell next to the channel name. Until next time, I'm Mike Armstrong. I'll see you down the line. Thanks for watching.